Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives on how to approach a career in the field from different artists, producers, engineers, and other great minds who share their stories on not only what's made them succeed, but also what has shaped them into the people that they are today. I hope you gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you in your endeavors on your own journey towards success as well. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone to episode 164 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Today I welcomed an artist. He's originally from New York, currently residing in the LA area. His name is YawnyBlew. I actually saw a tweet that Yanni sent out back in probably April, saying he was looking for different podcasts to be a guest on. So I went ahead and reached out and we got connected, and this week we finally got him on the show. Very cool perspective that Yanni had to give this week. He talked about, working with the artist H.E.R on one of her Grammy nominated songs a few years back, and what that experience was like for him, doing background vocals on the song, what it's like to be in different writing camps and different sessions as a songwriter for other artists, and how that has also bled into his own career as an artist. He talked about working with his fellow collaborator Amir, who is a photographer and a producer as well, the tracks that they've put out recently, and the project that they're currently working on that's slated to drop later this year, which I'm super excited about. I think it's cool that Yanni is doing so many cool things, just describing the mentality that he's had to adopt as far as, putting in the work and just getting better and better and better each and every day. And just seeing it pay off in the long run. So I definitely appreciate him for his time this week, and once again his very cool perspective, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, welcome everyone to episode 164 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Today I have a guest. He's originally from the New York area, now he's in the LA area. Very excited to talk with this guy right here. YawnyBlew, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I know I had just randomly come across a tweet of yours on Twitter, and you were asking about different podcasts, and you were looking to be a guest on people's show. And I just reached out to you. Yeah. So I was happy to, hear back from you, because a lot of times I don't know, what to expect when I do something like that. So I just kind of took the chance, but I'm glad to have you on here, and I'm excited to learn more about you. So, to start off every episode, we have the guest give some background. How did you get into music? How long have you been at it? Some basic info for those that might not know you and what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you for responding to my tweet. Power of social media.
Yeah, man.
And pretty fast too. So that was great. So I'm really excited that this has manifested from that. But yeah, backstory on me. I mean, I got started with doing music way back in the wonderful world of MySpace. I was 16. I wanted to get started. I wanted to get involved in music. Couldn't figure out how to start. So MySpace had a classified section. I put an ad, just looking for music opportunities. And this group hit me up to come in and audition. And that's kind of where I got started, in the R&B group. And from there, I've branched off into songwriting, journalism, background vocals, all types of crazy stuff. But that's where my journey started when I was 16 in Bronx, New York.
Yeah. So that was probably what? It had to have been the late 2000s, probably early 2010s, probably somewhere in there.
2006.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's awesome, man. So it's great to see. So that's what, 15, 16 years now, I think, in total.
Yep.
So that's super awesome to hear. And I always love to hear from people that have been at it for a while. And I'm sure you've seen so many changes too, even from that time. Like you said with MySpace, It's like MySpace used to be such a prevalent thing, and now that's no longer even really a thing at all. But that's where a lot of people, I remember even, because I didn't start until 2016, but I was a fan even before that, and I still remember when MySpace was where a lot of artists were connecting, and where you would even discover a lot of music too, and people were still putting stuff up there. And then I think I came in right at the end of it. So it really was like coming to an end at that time, but it's super crazy to look back and see just how fast everything has moved in such a short amount of time too, and just to think about like where it could go even from now, with technology moving so fast and all these different resources we have. But I know, like you said, you were
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Um, so being from New York, and obviously you decided to go out to LA. I had read a little bit of background about that but for the listeners, why was that decision made? As far as was it strictly career based? Was it creative based? Was it kind of a mix of everything? Let us know about what that journey was like for you.
Yeah, it was career and creative. So basically, got my start in an R&B group in New York, and just hammered away for the first 10 years. And I just felt like I kept hitting walls. Like I wasn't really advancing in the ways that I wanted. But a chance meeting at a session one evening, I met this manager who wanted to connect me with a producer in Los Angeles, and was like, I think you guys would be really great together. So I flew out here, did a week of sessions, and I just loved the workflow. I loved the opportunities that were available. So within 6 months after that trip, I ended up moving to Los Angeles and officially really starting my career. Like I started making music at 16, but I always like to say that my professional career started at 25 when I moved to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of just been like you've been on that journey ever since then. You kind of took that chance and just made that happen. So that's super.
Pretty much, man. Just taking risks when I could. I mean, I went to school for music briefly, and that helped open some doors as far as internships and stuff. But just kind of following, what felt right, and that definitely led me to Los Angeles.
Yeah. And I feel like that sometimes you just got to trust your gut too, you know what I mean? Like for you, you felt like you were kind of in a rut and you needed to kind of kick yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit to get to that next step. And I think that's something that a lot of people, they might be like hesitant at first, but I think once you do it and you kind of dive in, it starts to pay off in ways that you probably didn't even imagine. And I know for you, I don't know if it was Grammy winning or Grammy nominated, but you had the opportunity to work with H.E.R. A few years back. So, describe to us what that whole process was like. How did you get involved in that? And, what do you think you learned most from that experience moving forward?
Okay, that's a great question. So getting involved with H.E.R., basically taking the risk to move to Los Angeles, when you say like it pays off, I got to see that immediately. Like I took a big risk on myself, and it paid off literally the first week that I was here. The producer that I was working with got connected with Rodney Jerkins, who is like one of my heroes, and Rodney brought us in and basically gave us free reign of his second studio to kind of just work on projects for him and in tandem with him. So through that's how I got the opportunity to work with H.E.R. They brought in the record Hard Place, which was just a demo at the time, to flesh out. And he pulled me in to do backgrounds, and we also wrote a bunch of demos that didn't make the project. But that was still a huge moment for me because I had been working with him for almost a year at that point, and we had done some records for Empire, which was great. But just to see, a song on a major artist go from like inception all the way to completion, and be a part of that, and be able to like have a plaque with my name on it, it's been huge. What I've learned from it is I've learned just how fast things can move in this industry. I've learned how important it is to take care of your business, have the right people in place. I wasn't credited for the first 2 years that the song was out, just because I didn't have the right people in my corner. So those kind of lessons. But I am credited now. I have my Grammy plaque, which is great. But that's definitely my biggest lesson, was just understand that we can have fun and be creative, but you got to take care of business.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said about it moving fast, it really does too. Because sometimes it's like if you are waiting to get things organized and you don't jump on the opportunity, there's a chance they might move on to the next person. So it's like you kind of had to jump in at that right time. And I'm glad to hear that things kind of got sorted out in the back end, because I've also heard stories where it never gets sorted out. You know what I mean? Which is unfortunate for the person involved, but I think it's cool that at least you got that, credit later on, even if it wasn't initially. So that's great to hear. And how do you think that has helped you in your own journey as an artist for your own music, as far as, learning? Because like you said, you learned more about the business, getting things in order. So how do you think it helped you even just making your own material and putting it out there for people?
I have learned that, well, I'll say this because, for creative people, we're not all inherently business-minded. A lot of us are just exceptional at writing or producing. So what it taught me was that I needed to be business-minded and that I had a knack for it, which was good. Because like I said, some people don't naturally have that. I am very passionate about taking care of my back end because that's how I pay my bills. That's how And that's really how you create more of your visibility too. If you understand metadata, you understand dealing with DSPs, you understand pitching a playlist, like understanding all of that has helped me 100% as an artist, because it's allowed me to create the platform for my music that I wouldn't have had if I just put a song out and then just kind of left it alone and didn't care about all the other work that needed to go into it.
Yeah. It really is that thing where I feel a lot of artists, I don't know if they're just scared of it, you know what I mean? Or they're just intimidated by the fact that they hear the word business or anything like that, and they're just like, whoa, I don't mess with that. I'm a creative. I don't want to do that or whatever. But it's like, I think you also have to have the conversation with yourself where you come to the understanding that you need to know these things, you know what I mean? And even when it comes to like signing contracts and things like that, if you're relying on other people to do it, you know, you want your best interest in mind with everything you do and every decision you make. So it's like you need to have that understanding of, you know, this is what this means. I don't want to sign all my rights away. I want to make sure that everything's taken care of. Like you said, that we're credited, all that good stuff. It's like, so you have to know these things regardless. It's like, I feel like it's one of those things where people, you know, want to avoid it as much as possible, but if you want to like take it to a certain level, you kind of have to get in there and get your hands dirty and learning these things, and not just rely on other people to do it all the time. So I definitely think that's super important. As far as, you know, what you've been putting out recently, I know you've been working with Amir a lot on a lot of material, and I know you guys dropped a single, Runway, not too long ago as well. So what's it been like working with him? You know, what has that relationship been like? And I can tell you guys have a good creative chemistry. Just a couple songs I heard so far. So what's that been like?
Thank you. Amir and I connected through the internet as well. He is by trade a photographer under his full name, H.E.R, incredible photographer that I had shortlisted to work with before even realizing was a producer. So when we connected, it was just one of those things where we shared so much of the same interests sonically, that it just made sense to collaborate. And it started organic. He did some remixes for me that I put out and got great response. Then he sent me some production, and then I realized he actually raps and sings. And I was in New York last summer for about 3 months, so we were able to actually spend time together. And it felt really good. You know, I coming from being a songwriter and just also coming from just my different intersections, I always kind of felt alone in rooms. So connecting with him, you know, being that he also is queer, he's from New York, we have a lot of the same influences. It was my first time creating with somebody who could hold up a mirror to me and just have the same influences. It's been a blast. We have another single dropping June 26th, and we have a full-length project pretty much in the fall. And I'm just really excited for more people to hear the records and to experience our friendship, because that's really been at the core of what we've been doing. So what it feels like is what it really is. Like, we do have that much fun when we're working, and it's a blast.
Yeah. Hey, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know how you can become a monthly supporter of the show. So if you click on the show description in your podcast platform, you'll see the words support this podcast toward the bottom, and you can follow that link to sign up. You have the options of donating $1, $5, or $10 a month, and that'll be used towards making the show a better experience for you as the listener. That means new and exciting guests, giveaways, and a lot more that we can continue to provide for you. So feel free to click that link and check it out, or visit anchor.fm/provenknowledge/support to contribute today. And for now, let's get back into the episode. And the best collaborators are the ones you have that organic connection with, I think, originally. You know what I mean? So you feel the chemistry, and you're just like, this is undeniable. And you know that the listeners are going to feel it too. That's kind of how I felt, because I listened to Runway earlier today again to kind of refresh before this, and I was like, I could tell they just got that thing going. So like I'm excited for the project whenever it drops, so I'll be on the lookout for that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Runway is actually funny too, because that's the one record on the there's 2 songs on the project that Amir didn't produce. That was one of them. That's a producer friend of ours named Eric, who actually put the beat on TikTok, and Amir and I separately wrote verses to it, not realizing. And we were already halfway through our project, so that was just another example of we picked the same records even when we're not intentionally trying to write them together. So once we realized that we both wrote to the beat, it was like, this needs to be a song. It needs to be on the project.
Really on the same wavelength, you know, at the end of the day. That's super awesome. That's great to hear, man. And Are there any other collaborators you've been working with recently, maybe in person or via, collaboration online? Anyone else you want to shout out on the show today?
Yeah, I have a few collaborators that I'm really excited about. Mike Brown is a really dope podcaster, rapper, producer that he actually is on the project with Amir and I, and we're working on a joint project as well. There's another artist on the project named Sad Boy Music, who is an exceptional producer, creative director, choreographer. I'm also working on my next singing project because most of the stuff I'm doing with Amir is rapping. So for my next vocal project, I'm collaborating with a incredible producer, guitar player named H.E.R, based out here in Los Angeles. So those are the main people I'm working with right now.
Awesome. Definitely excited for all that. And I forget, I think it said, or on Spotify, I think your last solo project was last year, right? I forget the name of it.
Yes.
What was that called?
Midnight in Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah. I could definitely tell that had a lot of singing stuff on it, too. So
yeah, that was more of a vocal project.
Yeah.
And funny story is a lot of those songs originated as demos for other artists. So that wasn't even initially my project, but eventually that I don't know if you experienced this, but like as a songwriter or producer for other people, no matter what, your sound seeps into the records.
Mm.
So that project was a product of me just like listening to my catalog and realizing like, wow, these 5 or 6 songs belong together.
Yeah.
And I don't think I can hear anybody else singing them. So put that out. But yeah, that was my last solo project, and that was definitely vocal heavy, production heavy. So I'm excited to try some more stripped back stuff and raw vocal stuff.
I think that's the best thing when you make the sauce yourself. You got to keep some of the sauce for yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of how it has to go sometimes, man. But what do you think is like the biggest difference, or maybe not even biggest difference? What do you think you prefer about songwriting for others as opposed to being able to do your own thing? Because obviously, when you do your own thing, you get more freedom as far as you can kind of move the direction the way you want to, as far as how you're going to release it and the stories you want to tell. When you're writing for other people, it's more of, you have to have their interest in mind as well. So what do you think? How do you think you balance both of those, I guess is my question.
That's a good question. Creatively, I like them both the same, I'll be honest with you. I can write for people all day, the right people, obviously, if there's good chemistry, and I can write for myself all day. I think the key difference for me is what I'm able to do with the records. So when I'm writing for other people, I'm at their mercy. I'm at the label's mercy if they're signed. There's so many variables in the way of that record going from creation to release. When I do it on my own, I run the entire machine and I'm able to get the songs out. And this has been my first full year just being an artist and really trying to figure out if it is more financially viable, if I'm able to get records into more sync opportunities or do more shows or whatever. So at the moment, I do prefer the artist work from the professional standpoint because it just gives me a lot more to play around with and hopefully will result in just a more stable career. Mm-hmm. Songwriting wasn't feeling super stable towards the end.
Yeah. Were you ever in any writing camps? Because I know in like LA and New York, that's a big thing where they get a lot of writers for these big albums and they have them all come together and kind of just write a bunch of songs and they use the best ones. Have you ever been a part of anything like that before?
Yeah, my whole LA experience was writing camps. Yeah. I was lucky because I fell into a group of collaborators that I felt really comfortable with. So instead of being placed into a camp full of writers I didn't know, typically they would just bring my team in. It was myself, two co-writers, and a producer. So we would, for example, like when I got pulled in to do backgrounds for H.E.R, the plan was ultimately to get records placed. So we did an album's worth of songs. The only thing that came out of that camp was me singing backgrounds, So that's usually how it works. But yeah, my whole LA experience has been writing camps, and that's why I was able to catalog so much. I have over like 200 demos of songs that I've written for various projects.
It's crazy because you make so many songs and like 1% gets used, if you're lucky at that point. So, but it's definitely, I feel like it's probably good for building repetition too, and then you can apply that to doing what you do in your artist career, where you're putting these things out on your own. And like you said, you use some of those demos for your own releases later on. So it's not like everything goes to waste either. It all kind of gets used eventually in some type of way. So that's super cool, man.
You get, what is it? They say you have to do 10,000 hours or something to be I've maxed that out. But for sure, I see it every time I do sessions with newer artists or producers. I just work so fast, or I'm so intentional, and I notice they'll watch me and like, wow, how'd you do that so quick? And I didn't have a choice for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I was heading to writing camps after a full 8-hour shift at work and a 2-hour bus ride to get to the studio to crank out 3 songs to hope that one of them would get placed. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn under pressure, but it has made me a better songwriter for sure.
That's a different type of energy for sure, and it kind of just puts you in that zone, that real creative flow. So definitely thanks for sharing that, man, because I don't think I've talked to anybody yet that has been a part of one of those. So I think it's definitely a unique perspective. These are the last few questions here, and these are ones I ask on every episode. And the first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
I don't know if I would change anything, but if I absolutely had to give myself a piece of advice, I think I would just, you know, try to give myself a confidence boost. I think creative industries as a business are structured to break us down into the parts that the people need the most, right? So you might be an exceptional producer, but they might only need you to be an engineer, or I'm a great singer, but they only want me to write. And you start to lose faith in your other abilities that you might be more passionate about. So I think I would have encouraged myself to just love what I do a little bit more. Love your writing, love your voice, and just understand that even when people don't always want every part of you, they're still good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like keeping the love involved in everything you do is just too important. You know what I mean? Because that's why we do it at the end of the day anyway. Other than that, it's just like any other job at that point. You know what I mean? So definitely finding and keeping the passion is super, super vital. And if we flip that then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in music, in life, everything?
In 10 years, I would love to be an established brand and, you know, be able to fully support myself through my career, through my creativity. I would love to probably be more on the public speaking end and just encouraging new talents, probably be more of a mentor, and just really be in a space where I'm able to just create the craziest things that I can envision. Like, I want to have all the resources and all the access to just like make whatever the hell I want and just be happy.
Yeah, definitely makes it a lot easier when you can just get to that level. You know what I mean? So I definitely think you're going to get there, man, for sure. And do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Words of wisdom. Go for it, man. I don't know if you read The Artist's Way, but there's a quote in The Artist's Way that says, leap and the net will appear. And that comes up for me so often in my life, because a lot of times I'm doing really, really crazy, random shit. And you just got to believe it, go for it. That's what keeps the love and the passion alive, because everything else just feels like work. So I would encourage more people to leap, go to a different city, try a different song, pick up a different instrument, just go for it.
It goes back to what we said at the beginning with taking risks. You know what I mean? Because you can't get there if you don't take the risks to begin with. So, and I definitely think you gotta
shoot every shot.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I definitely think you're doing that, man. And that's all I have for you today. But once again, I appreciate your time, and I had a good chat with you, man. We'll have to do this again soon.
Of course, I'm super down. I appreciate you for setting this up. This is really dope.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. That was episode 164. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.